So welcome back everyone, Mike here. Today we're going to take a look at dangerous trees. Now to be more specific, we're going to kind of focus in on trees with a severe lean like this cherry tree here behind me. See how that thing's leaning? Now I think for somebody that's not very experienced at all in cutting trees down, they sometimes look at a tree like this and think, boy, that's an easy one right there. I know right where it's going to go. They tear into it with their saw. Next thing you know, it barber chairs. And best case scenario, they just need to change their underwear. Worst case scenario, they get hurt really bad or even killed. These, in my opinion, are very dangerous trees. Now, full disclosure here, I am by no means a professional arborist. I'm not a logger. I've cut a lot of trees over the years, but I am by no means an expert. And this video here is just to kind of show you how I do things. I don't want this to be like a how-to video because there are so many variables. Every tree's different, every wood lot is different, and all the hazards can vary. You know, there can be several risks out there that I'm not going to go over. If you ever feel uncomfortable about cutting a tree, there's probably a good reason for it, and you probably just walk away from it or get somebody to help you that's a little bit more experienced. That's just my opinion. Now this isn't going to be the best video ever on, you know, severe lean trees, but at the end of this video I'm going to give you a link to a video. I don't know the guy at all. I stumbled upon one of his videos probably 2 years ago, something like that. Very, very good video. Probably the best I have ever seen on YouTube when it comes to dangerous trees, and specifically on trees with severe lean. But I'll put a link and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So for now, I'm just going to kind of take you through the steps on how I'm going to take this tree down and what I look for. But once again, I'm not an expert, I'm not a pro, anything like that. This is just how I approach a tree like this. Now, as I mentioned, the first risk I see on this tree, it has severe lean. We kind of already talked about that. Another problem this tree has, if you look up there, there's several dead limbs. They're pretty long, they're pretty heavy dead limbs up there. So you definitely don't want to be under that thing when you're cutting. That's on the side it's leaning anyways. I'd have no reason to be over there, but that's just something else I'm looking at. And so when that tree goes down, those limbs are going to break off and they may fly back. I don't want to be anywhere near it if it does that. Now, this tree with its lean, I'll show you where it wants to go. It wants to go right up there and get tangled up in that maple tree right there. That's kind of where it wants to go. I'm going to try to aim it over this way, but even if that hits that maple tree right there and gets stuck up there, it's not the end of the world. I got a tractor and I'll pull it down. The key is here just to get this thing down safely. I'm going to try to avoid that maple and get that tree to go about 20 feet to the right, but it's kind of aimed right at it with all that lean to it. It's going to want to go that way. Now we'll get a little closer look at the tree and I'll kind of explain why I think this is a dangerous tree. So with this much lean in a tree, you got to picture what this thing's actually doing here. There is just tons of compression right here. I mean, there's so much pressure right in this area right here. So when you cut your notch, you're going to have to be careful you don't pinch your bar. We'll go over that in a minute. But you have all this compression on this side. And this side over here, it's pulling on it real hard. So if you were to cut into this tree and make your typical notch in it, and just start your back cut through here, you know, you'll keep it up an inch or two like you're supposed to and all that, and you'll think, boy, I'm doing good, right? And you're coming across here and you're going to get somewhere in here, and all this weight on this tree is just going to split, and it could go way up the tree super fast depending on the species or under, you know, how much stress it's under. But no matter what, it's not going to end well. This is going to break off of here. It may only be a few feet and maybe 20-30 feet up the tree. And that's what they call a barber chair. That thing will go up in the air. Sometimes it'll stay up there. Sometimes it'll come down to the ground. So that's what we're going to try to avoid with this tree right here. So this is going to be my escape route right here. Once that thing starts to fall, I'm going to be running down towards the Ranger. I'm actually going to pull that ahead a little bit. So first thing I want to do, I'm going to kind of clear out. There's not much brush here at all. Just clean a little bit of this stuff out here so I don't trip over it when I'm getting away from the tree. That's the first step for me. The next thing I do is I want to make sure that my saw is sharp. You ever see those videos? I mean, there are thousands and thousands of tree cutting videos on YouTube, and that guy will tear into a tree and it just looks like flour coming off of it or something. You do not want a dull saw at any time, especially when you're cutting a tree like this. I just touched this up the other day. It's good to go. It's nice and sharp. Gonna make sure it's got fueled up, it's got bar oil, all ready to go. Now, something else I like to do on trees with severe lean, I'll put a chain around it. I actually prefer using like a strap, but I don't have one with me. The reason I put that chain around it is it will help to prevent that tree from barber chairing. I mean, it's not guaranteed, but the way I see it, it can't hurt. If that tree would start to split, that chain's going to prevent, you know, half of that tree from splitting off and going up in the air. At least I hope so. Now, so I don't hit the chain while I'm cutting, I just kind of laid it over this little tree right here for now. Once I get my notch cut, I'll probably let it just fall, leave it off to the side here a little bit. All right, I got my chaps, my helmet, my gloves, my boots. After each cut, I'll shut the saw off and kind of explain what I'm doing and why I think I should do it that way. Alright, I start my notch from here down because if you started here, you have a much greater chance of your bar getting pinched. I'm going to clean that up just a little bit. All right, I'm going to come in with a bore cut now. And what I'm going to do is come in here, stay about an inch and a half above this, go into the tree, all the way through the tree, and then come ahead, and I'll check it a couple times. I want to leave a hinge here about an inch and a half wide, something like that, maybe an inch wide. And then what we'll do is we'll cut towards the back of the tree, and we'll stop somewhere in here, and we'll just leave this strap right here. So between the strap and the hinge, that will be all that will be holding this tree. Now when you come into a tree like this is what I like to do. If you come straight in like this, that saw is going to kick back on you real bad. You want to kind of go in on a 45, ease into it, and once you have that tip of the bar into the tree, you can do a plunge cut straight through it. Now I just identified another hazard on this tree. Look at those chips, that sawdust over there, compared to here that I just took out of the center of the tree. This is a cherry tree, and they'll get what I call red rot. I don't know the official term for it, but the center of that tree gets pretty rough. Now I whacked this thing with a hatchet there a little bit ago, and it sounded pretty solid. I should have mentioned that before. That's one of the first things you want to do. If it's not solid, if it's deteriorating, decay, disease, rot, walk away from it. I'm telling you, those things will kill you. But now I realize that the center of this tree isn't that great. My back strap, though, it should still be okay. So I'm going to kind of cut over a little bit more towards my hinge. Just a little bit more. And then I'll cut back towards the strap. But I'm going to be very careful right now and really keep my eye on that tree. And because it could really go. I mean, these are dangerous. Okay, I cut my wedge out of the front. I'm about 1.5 inches high above it here. Other side, I'm only about 1/2 inch or 1 inch. That'll be all right. I cut backwards here towards my strap. I marked it right here. This is like the trigger or the strap. There is not much at all holding this tree right now. As soon as I cut into this, it's gonna go really quick. So if you remember at the beginning of this video, I said this thing was aimed directly at that maple tree. I tried to get it to go about 10 or 15 feet to the right of it. I was unsuccessful at that. I was kind of afraid of that. However, I still look at this as somewhat of a success, and I'll tell you why. I got through the most dangerous part. All I need to do this weekend, I'll bring a tractor out here, pull this thing off the stump, pull it backwards, and get it out of there. But I did not have a barber chair. It didn't split, anything like that. Something else I wanted to mention. You know how they always say you come in with your back cut, whether you're doing a bore cut first, or you got a tree standing almost vertical and you just do like a conventional notch on the front and you come in. You want to stay above that notch 1 inch or 2. And this is a good example why. This tree is pushing right on that notch right there. If you came in below that, that tree would want to shoot out here behind you real fast and you could get hurt. So that's the reason that you stay a little bit above with this cut from down below. It gives that tree something to lock onto. Had I come in lower, it may not be hung up, but it may also have shot back here real far and I might not have been able to get out of the way in time. So there's a lot of hazards involved with any tree. Now this one, there were 4 that really stand out to me. One, which is what this video is about, was the severe lean that it had. 2 were the dead limbs up there. You kind of have to keep your eye out on them. When that tree starts to go, they can break off and fly anywhere. The third hazard, and I didn't discover this until I started my bore cut, was that red rot in the center of the tree. You really got to watch out for that. There's no like structural support there. So when I did that bore cut, I noticed it, and I had to be very careful and leave a big enough strap back in the back. And the fourth hazard is one that I just created. It's hung up in another tree, but that one I'm not too worried about. I got tractors, I can pull her down. That's not the end of the world there. But anyway, at the beginning of this video, I was talking about the best video on YouTube that I have ever found. And there's a guy named Terry Hale. I don't know him, I've never talked to him, but he doesn't upload very regularly or anything like that. But he did a video, several videos on felling trees. The guy is super knowledgeable. He has all kind of really neat illustrations, kind of explains where all like the compression points and kind of the physics and the engineering behind felling trees. He does a really good job on it. Like I said, I don't know the guy, but I'm going to link to his video up above here, and I'll also put it in description. I think it's well worth it if you cut trees, whether you're a hobbyist or even if you're a semi-pro or a pro. This guy Terry does a really good job on his video. I think his video on severe lean trees is 15-20 minutes long, something like that. It is well worth the watch. There's a lot of really there's all kind of videos on YouTube, let's face it, but occasionally you got to kind of pick through some of this stuff and you'll find something good. If you really want to learn something, you should check out that video and some of his other ones. But anyway, like I always say, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like button. That really matters. Click subscribe, comment below, and share them with your friends. Thanks.